Will my naturalization case be approved on the spot? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. You know, a lot of people are applying for naturalization these days. USCIS is working on the cases pretty hard. They're trying to naturalize a lot of people because this is an election year. We're seeing cases that used to take 7, 8, 9 months getting squeezed down to about 3 or 4 months. And of course, that's a great thing. We love to see immigration cases going faster. Not every case goes faster, but lots are going faster. And a lot of people want to know, Jim, when I go to my interview, will the officer tell me immediately about the results of my testing and my case itself? Will they tell me whether or not I'm approved? And I think that's a very valid question, a very natural question. And there are a lot of things that go into whether or not you find out on the spot whether they've approved your naturalization case. And what I mean by that is there are certain issues that require supervisor review. There are sometimes issues that come up that leaves the officer scratching their head and not sure exactly what to do. And then there's cases where people just walk right through and they say, congratulations, your case is recommended for approval. So in answer to the overall question, when you're done with your interview, the officer will print out a piece of paper. It should have their name on it, and it might say, congratulations, your case has been recommended for approval. Now, remember, in some jurisdictions, not many, but a good chunk of offices can approve you and naturalize you on the spot. For instance, San Diego, our field office right downstairs from our office, if you get approved for naturalization, you'll get sent upstairs and they do a ceremony every couple of hours. There's that many people naturalizing. In other places, you're going to have to wait for a hearing at a federal court. So that's also true if you're going to change your name. So even in a same-day ceremony office, if you're changing your name, you need the federal judge to actually order that name change. So you're going to have to go through the courthouse naturalization process. So obviously everybody's really happy when their case is approved on the spot. Now, when it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to worry. They should tell you the results of your testing. So if you've passed your test, and if you've passed the written and the English sections of the naturalization testing, then they'll tell you that. In fact, they usually tell you right when you're done. So if you're taking the 10 questions and you get 6 right, they'll stop as soon as you get 6 right. They don't want to ask themselves extra questions. They don't want to do extra work. Then they'll just have you write the sentence in English and listen to a sentence and read a sentence in English. And then they'll say, congratulations, you passed that part of your test. Now let's get to your application. So they'll go over the whole application. So one thing when cases aren't approved on the spot, one reason is because the person has some kind of a criminal history. So I believe that in most field offices around the country, the field office directors have required that if an officer comes across someone who has a relatively recent criminal infraction, maybe the person's on probation or they just finished probation, or there's something in the 5-year or 3-year statutory look-back period that gives the officer pause. I think in a lot of those situations, the field office director requires that officer, especially if they're a newer officer, to go and get permission before the case is actually approved. And now a lot of times they're going to know that before you come in because you've gone through the biometric process and hopefully they've talked to the director about it and they sort of have permission to either go one way or the other. The more experienced officers are given more leeway to approve those cases. And of course, not every crime is the same. Short of criminal activity, if your case isn't approved, then where I usually head when talking to people is, why do you think your case was not approved? Why do you think they didn't approve it on the spot? And that's something that often reveals a lot of insight. Sometimes people will realize that they've had too much time outside the United States, or they had that one trip that was more than 6 months, or they did have that criminal thing, or there might have been someone in their past who said something bad about them to immigration. Usually, if I push back and ask the naturalization applicant, why do you think your case was not approved on the spot? Usually they have a pretty good sense. If they're in touch with their gut and they listen to their gut, they can usually come up with something that puts me on the right track, and then I can sort of unravel it. Now, remember, USCIS gets 120 days from the date of your interview to approve your case. So if your case has been pending more than 120 days and you can't get any answers, they never approved it, they never denied it, you just can't get a decision, and you've called the 1-800 number, you've made an info pass maybe, you've rattled their cages, you've done everything you can to get the case moving, reached out to your senator or congressman, called the CIS ombudsman, emailed them, gotten on Emma and done all that talking stuff to try to get them to decide your case. If 120 days have gone by, you can stop. You can go into federal court right then and ask a judge to naturalize you or order them to naturalize you. And they don't like it when that happens. So once you do that, that's a very powerful thing. So there's a special statute. We talk about lawsuits all the time on this channel, but there's a special statute for people who've had their naturalization interview. Once that 120 days have gone by, if you don't have a decision, you can sue to get a decision. And they'll usually do that pretty quickly, usually in about 30 or 60 days. So that's a very powerful tool. They know that tool exists, and so a lot of times you'll see some movement towards the end of the 120 days. But if you don't, you can call us and we could sue them for you if you really want to get that decision. But at the end of the day, you will get some kind of indication as to what the current decision is about your case, whether it's been approved on the spot or whether they're going to need to send you a request for evidence. They might give you a checklist right there at the interview of additional things that they need. They might wait and send it to you in a couple days after they look through the file and send you a request for evidence, or they might just tell you, we don't know what we're going to do yet, we'll let you know. And then, like I said, once 120 days have gone by, you can go and sue them if you want to get your case moving. Then you don't have to wait anymore. So if you're thinking about suing USCIS to get a decision on your naturalization case, maybe your case hasn't been set for interview, you've been waiting a year and a half, you can sue them for that too. Or if you're looking for help with naturalization itself, give us a call at 314-961-8200 or email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. If you're just looking for free information, I have a great YouTube channel. We have thousands of videos on that channel. We also have our immigration answer show that I do live 3 or 4 times a week. That's where people can just come and ask me questions. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the alert bell, you'll get alerted whenever we go live in there. Or you can text the word show to 314-470-3300 and you'll get an alert whenever we go live. And then finally, don't forget our Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you join us there. There are thousands of immigrants and people who love immigrants discussing the immigration process in there, and we'd love to have you join us. Again, that's another free resource. And finally, if you're not following us on TikTok, you should, @Immigration Hacking. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.